Is this really, it says that it helps you have stronger big O. Good, y'all. It's Grace Sandra. So today I have two very important and very serious topics to talk about. One is childhood sexual abuse and the other is vaginal health. First of all, I want to thank NeuEve for sponsoring this video. I'm going to be discussing some of my issues that I have had as a result of being a victim of childhood sexual abuse and how some of their products actually have helped me to get through that a little bit. So I decided to partner with NeuEve because I'm 44 years old and perimenopausal. Yay! Oh my god, I'm so excited about that. As a result of both perimenopause and some of the side effects from the childhood sexual abuse I endured, I have had a lot of issues over the years with my sexuality, which is pretty normal for any adult survivor of childhood sexual abuse. So let me show you what NeuEve sent me. They sent me some vaginal inserts that help with vaginal atrophy, dryness, and painful sex. And I'll talk about what I have struggled with myself. This one stops itching, burning, and drying. So this one is the Vulva Balm Cream, and this one deals with vulvar itching, burning, dryness, and painful sex. It helps to reverse shrinking. This one uses moisture to lubricate and alleviate menopause symptoms. This is no hormones, all natural, food grade, green, and organic. This is also safe for breast, ovarian, and uterine cancer survivors. Also boosts sexual satisfaction. I can attest to that. NeuEve sent me two, level 1 and level 2 of the vaginal suppositories. They also sent me the suppository applicator. I've just been keeping it in the box because, you know, you don't want that thing just going everywhere. This is what one of the packets look like of the vaginal suppositories. And they also sent me some information. I've been using these products for about 3 weeks now, and I've definitely seen a difference. One of the things that I have dealt with as a survivor of childhood sexual abuse is really sometimes having a hard time having everything that you need happening inside your vagina to happen when you need it to happen. And I don't want to go more in detail because I think y'all know what I'm talking about. But at the same time, when I am excited, I don't need any help at all. But it's like either or. There is no in between. It's either or. I either have all of the lubrication that is needed or I have none of them. One of the biggest things that I experienced, let me show y'all what the bottle looks like. This is the Vulva Balm Cream, and this is what has been the little magic pill for me, I think, in terms of helping with getting that in between that you really want to have, where let's say you're not in the mood but your partner is, and you can get there a little quickly. But also, what I wanted to say about this is this really, it says that it helps you have stronger big O's or just have it at all if you've struggled. That has never been my struggle. Outside of using antidepressants, which most people know if you take antidepressants, it's going to be a lot harder to get a big O. You can get it, but you going to work for that big O. I mean, you going to work for it. And let me tell you, if you want to have some big O's like you ain't never had, baby, you need to get on this right here. Okay? I'll link it below. Thank you again, NeuEve, for sponsoring that portion of the video. Now let me tell you about my story with childhood sexual abuse and how that's affected me. Come on. My story with childhood sexual abuse. My dad had been married to someone else and got my mom pregnant when she was 38 or 39 years old. She was like, I feel like we should be married. So they went down to the courthouse, and apparently he was already married. So she broke up with him, and then they were never together ever again. And now my dad is actually dead. So I grew with my mom. My mom had 3 kids already from her previous marriage. So I grew up in Detroit with my mom and her family, and my dad also lived in Detroit, and I went to see him periodically for visits. My dad ended up sexually abusing me from, we think, around the time I was 3 until I was about 10 or so. I don't have very vivid memories of actual abuse until about, I don't know, it's hard to say, like 5 or 6 or so. My sister Danielle told me that when I was as young as 3 that I would not like being passed over to him for my custodial time, and that I would come back with very red vagina. And my sister said there was a few times that she asked my mom about it, like, why does she not want to go see her dad? I actually have this picture my mom gave me of my dad holding me when I was young. I just look really uncomfortable. I mean, I know it's only a second in time, but I do think it shows a lot. I don't have any memory of him being abusive to me that young. My instinct tells me, and based on the severity of my symptoms for my life, that probably it was happening. But like I said, I don't remember anything that young. The first time that I have a very vivid memory of very severe assault is when I was, I think, like I said, 6 or 7. My dad took me to Florida for a family reunion, and I remember this very vividly because it was my first time on a plane, and I was really excited for that, and also I got new clothes. I do remember the first night in the hotel, and I remember the things that he did, which I don't really want to describe just because I don't want to. Assault is assault. And then I don't remember anything else about the trip. I don't remember the next night in the hotel. I don't know how long we were there. I don't know who I met. I don't remember the family reunion. I don't remember getting into a pool. I don't remember anything. I think as a result of the abuse my dad did to me, a lot of my childhood has been wiped. Like, yeah, I seriously don't have huge swaths of my childhood I have no memory of. I don't know anything at all. Like, a lot of my friends remember kind of like kindergarten, their first day. I have a picture of my first day of kindergarten, but I remember nothing about that day at all. I do think I blocked out some of the trauma, but also I have a high ACE score. My ACE score is an 8. An ACE score is a score of basically how traumatic your childhood is, and it goes up to a 10. So I've had a pretty traumatic childhood in general. My mom was diagnosed as a schizophrenic when I was 10 or 11, but we think she's probably became schizophrenic when she was 20, 21. She's a paranoid schizophrenic. When I was 10 or so, right around the same time that things were coming to a head with my dad, my mom was in a really bad car accident, and she just became like a shell of herself. It's very hard to describe because her symptoms weren't like crazy out of control, but at the same time I knew I had a very deep feeling that she wasn't accessible to me, that she wasn't able to teach me and lead me and train me and raise me. I don't hold that against my mom at all because I know she has a mental illness and I love her, but that was a part of the trauma of my childhood too, was just not being raised. And then I had a very verbally abusive brother. He was physically abusive to an extent as well, in the way that he kind of acted like an alcoholic. Like, he broke everything around us and he broke me down emotionally. He twisted my arm behind my back a couple times. I think he threw me off the porch one time. Not to minimize those things, but he wasn't like beating me up. Just want to be clear about that. But it was very, just having him around, because he was always breaking things and screaming at us and swearing at us and saying horrible things to us. I saw almost choke my sister to death, literally almost to the point that she was dead. And I saw that was probably one of the most traumatic things in my life. Anyway, I'm getting off course, but my whole point in telling y'all this is that while my dad was doing this, I wasn't finding a whole lot of solace at my mom's either. And I think that led to the memory loss as well, not just what my dad did, but I just didn't have a lot of stability, is I guess what I'm saying. My oldest sister had already moved out of the house. I had a sense that what my dad was doing was wrong, but he took his time. My dad made sure that I got orgasms in his abuse. I've really wrestled with that because I know that there's a lot of people who've endured either sexual abuse or assault or molestation or rape as kids, and I've tended to minimize my experience and just be like, wow, like they actually were violently assaulted sexually, and I was more like, he was treating me like I was a grown woman making that choice. He had used emotional manipulation to make me feel like I was choosing to have sex with him, and he was very meticulous and slow about it. It's difficult because there was and is a lot of ramifications for that type of abuse. It's just so much more rare because usually abusers just assault, and it's violent. And so what I knew was something really different, but as a result of him doing that, I didn't know for sure if it was wrong. He never told me what we're doing is wrong. He never told me this is a secret. He never said keep it a secret. He never tried to silence me. He just made it seem like this is just what we do. This is what you and I do. He was such a good manipulator. He also made me feel like I was asking for it. It was kind of crazy when I look back at it. But anyway, so at a young age, I was trying to masturbate, trying to figure out how to recreate that feeling, because, you know, when I would get home, I would be like wanting it, you know, and wanting the comfort of that. And I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I had down there. I was not using my fingers. I was all over my bedroom, humping everything I could hump, trying to figure out how to get orgasms. It's kind of funny in hindsight. Anyway, you gotta bring some levity into this type of thing, but also let me be clear that I've been a speaker. I've spoken about this for many years, probably 20 years now, that I've spoken about this. I've written about it. I've given talks to high schoolers and college students, so this is not like fresh information for me to share, and I'm not sharing it for the first time by any stretch. But sometimes, because I have created some distance from it, I'm actually able to talk about it where it's not still traumatizing, but honestly it's still affecting me. Like, I can feel my body is tense right now, you know? That's why I wanted to go outside and just be in a different place, because it's an intense topic. So there was one time I thought, I think this is wrong. So I was born in 76. During the 80s, for some of y'all older people might remember, that was like during the AIDS epidemic, and AIDS was always being talked about. And I remember one morning I woke up to him doing things to me, and I do remember thinking like, he's gonna give me AIDS, he's gonna give me AIDS. I don't know what made me think that or whatever, but I remember having that fear. That is one day that I remember very distinctly, because I went into the bathroom and I was naked and I just like knelt down on the ground and started crying. And that was when I was a little older. I think I was 9 or so then. So how this came to a head is, one day I came home from school, and my mom was in her room sleeping. So I just sat down and started watching TV, and there was a TV special on. It was about a little girl who was being abused by a family friend that the family trusted. And the way that this guy in the TV special, made for kids, the way that he manipulated her was through gift giving. So he would give her gifts and he would promise her gifts if she would comply, basically, and keep it a secret. But the way that this little girl, she acted her heart out, whoever she is, because I really was like, oh yeah, like that's what's happening to me. Like, even though it was made for kids and there was no imagery or anything, I got it. I was like, what's happening to her is happening to me. And also, the one thing I didn't mention before was that my dad did use gift giving as a way to kind of grease the wheels a little bit. So like, if I showed any hesitancy, I do remember a few times he would be like, hey, let's go to the mall, or let's hop over to Canada, because we live in Detroit, so we could just go to Canada in like 2 minutes. Like, he loved to take me to go to Canada for shopping in Windsor. And when I saw this TV special, I was like, that's what's happening to me. And I remember feeling kind of like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like, you know, when the scales fall off your eyes and you realize something is very, very wrong. So at the end of it, it showed a picture. I will never forget this. Is like clear as day in my mind. It showed a picture of a little girl with a little bikini on, like a pink polka dot bikini, and it like used arrows, and the arrows came in and were like, if anyone's touching you in these places or these places or these places, you need to tell a trusted person. And then the cartoon flipped around, and then it shared her butt, and then, you know, they put the arrow like, you know, going all towards her butt. So I was like, my dad is touching me in those places. You know what? It's no big deal, but I'll just tell my mom, because why not? My mom was also, she is not anymore, but she was a Detroit police officer at the time. So I went into her room, and I also will never forget this, and she was laying down. I just woke her up. I said it so nonchalant. I was like, Mom, I think I said, Daddy touches me under my bathing suit or something like that. I don't remember how I said it, but I just remember, you know, when people are sleeping and then they realize like that somebody's in their room about to kill them. She woke up, she was like this, and then she sat up, she darted up, and I was just like, and I was like, it's no big deal though. It's no big deal. Like, it's not a big deal. I just want to tell you because I was watching this TV show. And by that time she was already like, what? And she was out of her bed, and my mom handled it very well in terms of taking it very seriously. There was no gaslighting. There was no, I don't believe you. She just took me at my word. You know, I'm proud of my mom for just believing me right away and just getting on it. So within a day or two, all of these people came over to our house. My mom took them down to the basement one by one, and one by one they would come up and be like, they looked at me like I was in bereavement because I had lost somebody, and they were just like, I'm sorry, Grace, I'm so sorry. And I did not understand what the was going on, y'all. All I did was tell my mom, and then nobody else told me anything about anything. All I knew was all these people were coming in and out. My mom was taking them to the basement. They're coming upstairs looking at me crazy. And then the last person that she told was my brother, the abusive one, and he was just like, why didn't you tell me that monster? And you know, he was just going on and on and on, and I was so ashamed and so grieved and so embarrassed and so confused. I don't remember anything after that. I don't remember anything for honestly the 6 months following that, except for the day that we went to court and my mom had pressed charges. I don't remember. She could have, but I don't remember her explaining to me what was happening, what was about to happen. A lawyer could have, but I don't remember anything really very much until I got in the courtroom and I was put on the stand. In my little baby brain, it was just kind of like, what is happening right now? It was just all very dreamlike and so confused. But as the day proceeded, I became increasingly afraid that I was in trouble, that I was going to be sent to prison, that it was my fault, that I did something wrong, that I had a hard time figuring out what was going on, in part because my dad had hired a skeezy ass lawyer who, when he interrogated me, he actually interrogated me. He made it seem like it was my fault. He insinuated that it was my fault. He insinuated that I was using my dad for money. He insinuated that I asked for it. He insinuated that I wanted it. He insinuated that I was loose. I took that to heart. I took that to heart. And when I tell you that I believed the lies of that lawyer for 30 years, I mean that, y'all. If you do the math, I went to court when I was 10 or 11 and I'm 44. So it was only within about 3 or 4 years ago that it really finally truly solidified, because I'd been in therapy, I'd been in lots of therapy, but it only fully truly solidified in my brain that it was not my fault, that it was indeed his fault, until about 4 years ago. It is by far the greatest single life-changing event of my life that has altered every area of how I view myself, my sexuality. I could go on and on and on with the sexual side effects of having that happen to me. What I wanted to emphasize, especially in terms of the partnership with NeuEve, is that there is always hope. There are some things that just don't heal overnight or even in decades. And I don't know if some of the tenseness and some of the issues that I've had with sex and sexuality, some of that, I don't know if that will ever be fully healed. I think that's okay. I think it's okay to just say and just be real that trauma, especially that type of trauma, I'm going to say something specific, but having my father force me to give him a job, that's a traumatic thing to happen. And that kind of trauma can create a cacophony of symptoms and problems for the life of the person who went through that. And I think I just want to normalize that a little bit. You know, there are things that can help you. And I have taken advantage of every single resource that has been available to me over the years to work through all of the trauma that my dad put me through. And some work better than others, you know? And I'm thankful for the opportunity to try those products, because as a woman entering perimenopause, I never would have known that. I didn't even know that kind of thing was out there. I knew there was something for dryness, but I did not know there was something for actually like dealing with the things that I'm dealing with, which is this like huge, enormous increase of hormones that I have. I'm doing raspberry tea, I'm doing peppermint oil, I'm doing this now. I'm doing so many things to deal with that because it's given me the worst migraines I've ever had in my life. But anyway, that's a whole nother subject. But I do just want to normalize that, you know, y'all, we can survive and we can get through it and we can even thrive. And it might not be perfect, but life ain't ever perfect anyway. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much, NeuEve, for sponsoring this video and for letting me try these products. I'm really, really grateful to have them. I really hope that some of y'all watching this, especially those entering perimenopause or menopause, get some relief for some of these issues that are very natural and normal, FYI. And thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all on the next one.